The sun hung low over the Everglades, casting a golden haze across the sawgrass prairies, when a young couple vanished into thin air after their wedding in 1985. Melissa Carroll and Brandon Whitmore, along with their brand-new yellow Ford Thunderbird, disappeared as if swallowed by the earth itself. For 12 long years, their fate remained a mystery, a wound that festered in the hearts of those they left behind. But in 1997, university students poring over old satellite images stumbled upon something shocking in the vast wilderness of the Everglades, a discovery that would unravel a chilling truth no one could have anticipated. The morning sun stretched long shadows across the Walmart parking lot in Homestead, Florida. Linda Carroll, 56, pushed her shopping cart through the produce aisle, her hands moving with the precision of routine. She examined tomatoes, weighed heads of lettuce, each motion a quiet anchor in a life hollowed out by loss. 12 years had passed since her only daughter, Melissa, vanished on that fateful summer day in 1985. The shrill ring of her cell phone, recent prize from a supermarket lottery, shattered her thoughts. Fumbling in her purse, she nearly dropped a bag of oranges as she answered. "Hello, Mrs. Carroll. This is Detective Jason Prom from the Homestead Police Department. I need to know where you are right now." Linda's heart stuttered. Over the years, she'd fielded countless calls from police, each one a false lead that left her emptier than before. But something in the detective's tone made her grip the phone tighter. "I'm at Walmart, grocery shopping." "Why? What's happened?" "Mrs. Carroll, we need you to come to Everglades National Park. Something related to your daughter Melissa and her husband Brandon has come up." The words struck like a physical blow, her fingers nearly losing their hold on the phone. "What is it? What have you found?" "We've recovered the yellow Ford Thunderbird from the Everglades. We need you for identification. We've also contacted the Whitmore family. Can you meet us at the park's parking lot on Main Park Road?" "The car?" Linda's voice cracked, disbelief warring with dread. "After all this time?" "I'll be there in 20 minutes, she said, abandoning her half-filled cart in the aisle. Shoppers stared as she rushed past, but Linda barely noticed, her mind a whirlwind of memories and unanswered questions as she hurried to her aging Honda Civic. The 20-minute drive to Everglades National Park felt both endless and fleeting. Main Park Road stretched before her, each mile pulling her back to memories she'd fought to reconcile. The police had long concluded that Melissa and Brandon had left town willingly after their wedding, a tidy explanation for a grieving mother. But Linda had never believed it. Her daughter wouldn't abandon her, not after the bond they'd forged through years of struggle as a single mother. Melissa understood sacrifice, knew the weight of love. Yet 12 years of silence had worn down even Linda's stubborn hope, forcing her to build a fragile peace with the idea that maybe, just maybe, her daughter had chosen a new life. Now with this call, that fragile peace crumbled like wet sand. The scene at the park stole her breath. Police cruisers crowded the parking lot, their red and blue lights dancing against the morning sky. Rescue vehicles added to the chaos, park rangers directing traffic while officers cordoned off areas with yellow tape. Linda parked hastily, her legs unsteady as she stepped out. A crowd had gathered: park employees, curious tourists, officials in various uniforms, but her eyes locked onto the flatbed trailer at the center of it all. There it was, the yellow Ford Thunderbird, dripping with murky water, its once pristine surface caked with algae and mud. The windows were opaque with sediment, but even after 12 years underwater, Linda recognized it instantly. Gregory Whitmore, Brandon's father, had made a spectacle of gifting it to the couple, insisting on photos of them beside it on their wedding day. Mrs. Carroll, Detective Prom approached, his weathered face grave. Younger than his voice suggested, perhaps early 40s. His tired eyes spoke of too many years witnessing human misery. "Detective," Linda said, unable to tear her gaze from the car. How did you find it after all this time? Let me introduce you to some people who can explain better than I can. He led her to a group of young people in University of Miami shirts, barely older than Melissa had been when she vanished. A sandy-haired young man with earnest eyes stepped forward. Mrs. Carroll, I'm Jake Morrison. We're environmental studies students working on a project about land transformation in the Everglades. We've been analyzing historical satellite imagery to track changes over decades. He pulled a folder from his bag and extracted a grainy photograph. We were studying land loss patterns when we noticed this anomaly in a 1985 satellite image. He pointed to a yellow shape, partially submerged in dark water. When we enhanced and zoomed in, it was clearly a vehicle. Our professor thought it might be tied to the missing persons case from that year. It was big news back then. So we calculated the coordinates and contacted the police. Detective Prom took over. The area where they spotted it is remote, with water deep enough for a car to sink completely. Over time, it settled into the bottom. The recovery took 4 hours, he continued. The Marine Recovery Team worked with Florida Fish and Wildlife and our department. We used sonar and divers to pinpoint the car's position, then a police boat to reach it. A helicopter lifted it onto the flatbed. Linda's attention shifted as car doors slammed behind her. The Whitmore family arrived, Gregory striding with his characteristic swagger despite his age. Eleanor, his wife, with her air of long-suffering dignity. And Daniel, their younger son, trailing behind. Time had changed them, but Linda recognized them instantly. Old anger flared in her chest. Memories of Gregory's accusations that her low-income daughter had led his son astray, as if love could be measured by wealth. Detective Prom excused himself to brief the Whitmores. Linda watched Gregory's face as he inspected the car, saw the flicker of recognition he tried to mask. Yes, that's the Thunderbird I bought Brandon as a wedding gift, Gregory confirmed, his voice carrying across the lot. The license plate matches FTB 1985. I had it specially ordered. Linda approached despite herself. What did you recover from inside? The detective's expression grew somber. No remains, no blood, no signs of struggle that we could detect, given the water damage. The only item we found was this. He signaled an officer who brought over an evidence bag containing a silver lighter. Gregory fished in his pocket, producing an identical lighter. This is mine. That one must be Brandon's. We bought them together at a shop in Miami, Christmas 1984. Eleanor's composure cracked. Detective, what does this mean? If they're not in the car, where are they? What happens now? Mrs. Whitmore, I don't believe your son and daughter-in-law would deliberately dump their vehicle in the Everglades, especially not a wedding gift. Someone did this to them in 1985 and tried to hide the evidence. This is no longer just a missing persons case, it's potentially a criminal investigation. Criminal? Eleanor's hand flew to her throat. You mean someone might have killed them? We're exploring all possibilities. Whoever did this knew the area well. Knew where the deep water was, how to access this remote location. That suggests someone local. Gregory's face flushed. Before you waste taxpayer money on wild theories, send divers back out there. Search for bodies. They might still be underwater. Our dive teams are searching as we speak, Mr. Whitmore. We'll expand the grid if necessary. Gregory turned to Daniel, his voice low but audible. This is why you never marry into desperation. Poor girls will ruin your name or destroy you, just like what happened to your brother. Dad, Daniel's shock was palpable. You know how much Brandon loved Melissa. She would never. Linda's control snapped. Are you still blaming my daughter after all these years? Gregory rounded on her. She might have had connections, old boyfriends, gang members from her neighborhood. Someone who got jealous and decided to eliminate my son. Gang members? Linda's voice rose. If my daughter wanted your money, she wouldn't have disappeared with your son. She would have stayed to collect it. Don't you dare. Gregory stepped forward aggressively. Your son lured her away from her purity promise, Linda shot back. She wanted to wait until marriage, but he convinced her otherwise. That's why they had to marry so young. Melissa was only 24. The argument escalated, voices rising, accusations flying. Onlookers stared as officers moved to intervene, forming a barrier between the families. That's enough. Detective Prom's authoritative voice cut through. The chaos. This behavior helps no one. You're both grieving, both confused, but throwing accusations won't bring answers. He guided Linda away. Mrs. Carroll, please. Everyone's emotions are running high. Don't let him provoke you. He's painting my daughter as a criminal, Linda said, her voice trembling with rage and unshed tears. My baby girl, who sang in the church choir, who volunteered at the food bank. I know. We'll review everything at the station. For now, go home and try to rest. I'll contact you if there are developments. Can you drive, or would you like an officer to escort you? Linda took deep breaths, steadying herself. I can drive. I just need a moment. She walked to her car, slumping into the driver's seat. Through the windshield, she saw the Whitmores clustered around the flatbed, Gregory gesticulating wildly. His arrogance, his certainty of his own righteousness, churned her stomach. She started the engine and pulled out, leaving the chaos behind. But the image of that water-stained yellow car, and the questions it raised, clung to her like damp Everglades air. Linda's house was oppressively quiet as she closed the front door. The adrenaline of the morning drained away, leaving her hollow and shaky. She stood in her small living room, trying to process the day's events, the car, the Everglades, Gregory's venom. Almost without thinking, her feet carried her down the narrow hallway to Melissa's room. She hadn't entered in months, the pain too raw. The door creaked open, releasing a musty smell. Dust danced in the afternoon sunlight, filtering through yellowed curtains. The floral wallpaper she and Melissa had chosen together was faded, peeling at the corners. Everything remained as Melissa had left it that June morning in 1985. Makeup scattered on the dresser, a romance novel face down on the nightstand, her favorite sundress draped over the desk chair. But time had been cruel. Mold spotted the closets. Clothes and dust matted the stuffed animals on the bed, their button eyes dulled. Oh, baby girl, Linda whispered, her throat tight. She threw open the windows, letting fresh air chase the staleness. Then she grabbed cleaning supplies and cardboard boxes from the garage. If the police were reopening the investigation, they might need Melissa's belongings. And maybe it was. Time to pack away these reminders of lost. She started with the closet, folding each item with care. Melissa's high school graduation dress brought back the pride of that day. The blouse from her first date with Brandon, the skirt she'd saved months to buy, each piece carried memories. On the top shelf, Linda found items that weren't Melissa's: a man's watch, a University of Miami sweater, a cologne bottle, Brandon's things. Her jaw tightened. She'd known he stayed over sometimes, despite her objections. She'd raised Melissa with strong values, insisting on purity before marriage, but young love followed its own rules. Brandon Whitmore, handsome, charming, from a wealthy family, had swept Melissa off her feet. And look where it led. Linda fetched another box, packing Brandon's belongings separately: shirts, CASSETT, tapes, a tennis racket, toiletries. She labeled it clearly: Brandon Whitmore personal items. The cleaning took nearly 3 hours. Her back ached, her hands raw from scrubbing, but Melissa's room looked better, a cleaner shrine to her missing daughter. The boxes stood stacked against the wall, each sealed and labeled. Linda loaded Brandon's box into her Honda, debating. The Whitmores lived in the exclusive Gables estates, a world apart from her modest neighborhood. They might not even be home after the morning's events, but their staff could accept the delivery. The 20-minute drive took her past manicured lawns and sprawling homes. The Whitmore estate loomed behind an iron gate, all Mediterranean stucco and terracotta tiles. As she retrieved the box, Gregory emerged from the garage, heading for his Mercedes. His face darkened when he saw her. "What the hell are you doing here?" His voice boomed across the driveway. "You're blocking the gate." "I'm leaving, and you need to leave too." "You're not welcome here." Linda held up the box. "I'm just returning Brandon's belongings. They were in Melissa's room." "Leave it there." He gestured dismissively at the ground. "Someone will deal with it. Now move your pathetic car." Fighting the urge to hurl the box at him, Linda set it carefully on the driveway. She pulled her car forward, allowing Gregory's Mercedes to reverse past. He lowered his window. "I'm leaving, but when I return, I don't want to see you or your piece of junk car near my property. Understood?" Without waiting for a reply, he sped off. Linda stared at the box, abandoned on the pristine driveway. It felt wrong, leaving Brandon's things like garbage. On impulse, she retrieved it and walked to the front door, ringing the bell. Daniel answered, looking surprised. "Mrs. Carroll, I'm sorry to bother you." She held out the box. "These are Brandon's things. I wanted to make sure someone received them. I'll go now, I don't want trouble." "Actually," Daniel stepped aside, "Mom and I were going through Brandon's room. There's something you should see. Please come in. Your father warned me to be gone before he returns." Daniel's expression hardened. "Don't worry about him, please." Against her better judgment, Linda followed. The house was a palace of marble floors, vaulted ceilings, and expensive artwork. Daniel led her up a curved staircase to Brandon's room. Eleanor looked up from a box, her usual composure softening. "Linda, thank you for bringing Brandon's things." "Of course." Linda set the box down, noticing others already packed. She spotted a smaller box with Melissa's hairbrush, jewelry, and books. "I'll take her things with me." "Thank you for keeping them." "Linda," Daniel interrupted, picking up an ornate velvet box from Brandon's desk. "This is what we wanted to show you." Linda took the box, feeling its costly weight. Inside, nestled in white satin, was a black lace lingerie set, clearly expensive. A card tucked into the lid read, "From Otis," in bold, masculine handwriting. "Otis?" Linda looked up, puzzled. "I don't know anyone named Otis. Melissa never mentioned him." "Neither do we," Eleanor said. "That's why we thought you might know. We found it hidden behind shoes in Brandon's closet." They stared at the intimate gift, unease settling over them. "The lingerie is brand new," Daniel noted, pointing to the tags. "Never worn. Still has the price tag $200. That was expensive, even for 1985. Why would Brandon keep this?" Linda asked. "If some other man was sending my daughter gifts like this, that's what we can't understand," Eleanor said. "Brandon was jealous. He would have confronted this Otis, not hidden evidence." Linda closed the box. "We need to take this to Detective Prom. This could be important." "I agree," Daniel said. "I'll come with you to the station," Eleanor nodded. "I'll stay in case Gregory returns. He won't be pleased, but the police need to know." Linda gathered Melissa's belongings while Daniel bagged the velvet box. As they headed to the garage, the rumble of Gregory's Mercedes interrupted them. Linda's stomach dropped. "Your father's back already." "It's fine," Daniel said, though his jaw tightened. Gregory was out of his car before the engine died, his face flushed with rage. "What the hell is she still doing here, Daniel? What are you doing with this woman?" "Dad, calm down. We found something in Brandon's room." Daniel held up the bag. "Mom and I were packing his things." "And you're taking it where? To the media?" "To embarrass our family further." "To the police," Daniel said firmly. "It's evidence." Gregory yanked the velvet box from the bag, his expression shifting as he saw the lingerie. "You're taking lingerie to the police?" "Look at the card," Linda said. "It's from someone named Otis. Neither Eleanor nor I know who that is. And you think this is relevant?" Gregory snapped. "Dad, we should have shown you first, but you were in a rush this morning," Daniel said, trying to placate him. "You said you had to get grandmother's anxiety medication, which I did." Gregory patted his jacket pocket. "That doesn't explain why you're conspiring with her." He jerked his head toward Linda. "No one's conspiring," Daniel said wearily. "We found this hidden in Brandon's closet. Don't you think it's strange some man sending Melissa expensive lingerie?" "You called me to help pack Brandon's room this morning, and I said I was busy," Gregory deflected. "Where exactly did you find this?" "Behind shoes. On his closet shelf. Dad, do you know who Otis is?" Gregory's hesitation was brief but noticeable. "How would I know every person my son associated with? Maybe it was one of Melissa's ex-boyfriends. Who knows?" "We're taking it to the police," Daniel said with finality. "They need to know." "Fine, but I'm coming with you." Gregory pocketed his car keys. "And I'm driving. Give me your keys." "Dad, your keys, Daniel, now." Daniel handed them over reluctantly. Gregory turned to Linda. "You'll follow in your own vehicle. We're not carpooling like some family outing." Linda nodded, biting back a retort. At the station, they learned Detective Prom was still in the field, coordinating the Everglades search. A younger officer, badge-reading Martinez, took their information. "We'll log this into evidence immediately," he said, handling the velvet box with gloved hands. "The detective will want to see this as soon as he returns." "What can you do with it?" Daniel asked. "Several things. We'll dust for fingerprints, though the fabric might make that challenging. We'll also check our database for anyone named Otis in the area. Homestead isn't that big, and Otis isn't a common name." Officer Martinez examined the lingerie tags. "This is from Eloise Boutique in Coral Gables, a high-end place. They might have purchase records, even from 1985. Some exclusive shops. Keep detailed client information." "That's good," Daniel said. "Anything that might help identify this person?" Gregory's phone rang repeatedly during the conversation. Each time he glanced at the screen and silenced it, his agitation growing. "Sir, do you need to take that?" Officer Martinez asked after the fourth interruption. "No, it's just business," Gregory said tersely. Daniel frowned. "Dad, if it's urgent." "I said it's fine." Gregory snapped. They completed the evidence forms, providing contact information. As they walked to the parking lot, Gregory's phone rang again. "For God's sake, Dad, just answer it," Daniel said, exasperated. "Is it from the office?" Gregory fumbled. "No, I mean, yes, it's complicated. Look, we need to get home. I have matters to attend to at the office." "We still need to finish packing Brandon's room," Daniel reminded him. "And Mrs. Carroll needs to collect Melissa's belongings." "Whatever. She can follow us back and get them," Gregory said impatiently. "You'll ride with me." "Actually, Dad, since you need to go to the office, why don't you take my car there? I'll ride with Mrs. Carroll back to the house. We can finish packing while you handle your business." Gregory's phone rang again. Linda glimpsed the screen. No name, just a number. Gregory declined the call with visible frustration. "Fine, whatever. I need to deal with this." He fumbled for Daniel's keys, and as he pulled them out, another keychain fell to the asphalt with a clink. Linda's eyes caught a small label with an O at the beginning, but before she could read more, Gregory snatched it up. "Dad, what was—" "Nothing. Just keys to the office storage units." Gregory pocketed them quickly, too quickly. "I'll take your car to the office. You two do whatever you need to do. Just don't take all day." He strode to Daniel's BMW without another word. "Your father seems stressed," Linda observed carefully. Daniel sighed. "He's been like this since Brandon disappeared." Throws himself into work, snaps at everyone. Mom says it's how he processes grief, but... He shrugged. Shall we head back? I'm sorry you have to drive. It's no problem, Linda said, though her mind lingered on that keychain. Had she imagined it, or were there more letters after the O? And why had Gregory reacted so strongly? They arrived at the Whitmore estate 20 minutes later. As Linda pulled into the circular driveway, she noticed a man in the garage near Gregory's Mercedes. Middle-aged, in a crisp white shirt and dark slacks, the uniform of domestic staff. That's Ray Dellon, Daniel explained as they got out. Dad's driver. Been with him for years. He calls him whenever he needs him. Ray approached with a warm smile, his graying hair and kind eyes crinkling at the corners. Mr. Daniel, good to see you. Hey, Ray. Daniel shook his hand. This is Mrs. Carroll, Melissa's mother. Ma'am, Ray nodded respectfully. I'm sorry for your troubles. Thank you, Linda said, studying him. His demeanor was a stark contrast to Gregory's hostility. Your father called. Ray said to Daniel. Asked me to take his car to the office and drive your BMW back here. You know how he is about that Mercedes, Daniel chuckled. God forbid anyone else touches it. Thanks, Ray. No trouble at all. I'll have it back within the hour. They left Ray in the garage and headed inside. Eleanor was in the living room, a cardboard box at her feet. How did it go at the police station? She asked. Fine, Mom, I'll fill you in later, Daniel said. Is this Melissa's things? Everything I could find, Eleanor said, standing and smoothing her skirt. Some clothes, jewelry, a few photographs, not much really. They didn't have much time to accumulate things together. Linda accepted the box, her throat tight. Thank you for saving these. Eleanor stepped forward and embraced her, a surprising gesture from the reserved woman. I'm sorry for Gregory's behavior earlier, and always really. We're both mothers who lost our children. We should have supported each other. Her eyes glistened. I hope the police find answers soon. We all deserve closure. Thank you, Eleanor. That means a lot. Daniel offered to walk her out, but Linda declined. I can manage. You should stay with your mother. She carried the box through the marble foyer and out the front door. The afternoon sun was harsh, forcing her to squint. She opened her trunk when she heard voices near the gate. Ray was talking to a younger man, early 30s, stocky with dark hair and nervous mannerisms, glancing around as if afraid of being seen. Linda pretended to arrange the box, watching them. The man wore a gold chain necklace with large letter pendants. Even from a distance, she saw a prominent O at the start. Her pulse quickened. Was that an S at the end? She slowed her movements, adjusting her rearview mirror. Ray had noticed the necklace, reaching for it as he spoke. The man stepped back, but Ray grabbed the chain. Through her partially open window, Linda caught fragments of their conversation. Boss said, Ray's voice was firm, don't wear this. The man protested, but Ray pulled the necklace over his head. Then, with a grip that belied his earlier gentleness, Ray seized the man's arm and steered him toward Gregory's Mercedes. Linda's hands trembled. Every instinct screamed something was wrong. The name Otis, the O and S on the necklace. It couldn't be a coincidence. She backed out slowly, feigning disinterest, but kept watching as Ray shoved the man into the Mercedes passenger seat. Ray got behind the wheel, and the car sped out of the driveway. Linda made a split-second decision. Instead of turning left toward home, she turned right, following at what she hoped was a safe distance. Her heart pounded as she processed what she'd seen. Who was this man? Why was Ray so concerned about the necklace? And why mention boss, presumably Gregory? She let another car slip between them as they hit the main road. She'd never followed anyone before, only seen it in movies. Every red light sparked panic that she'd lose them. Every turn demanded quick decisions. The Mercedes headed toward downtown Homestead's business district. After 15 minutes, it pulled into the parking lot of Whitmore Industries, Gregory's real estate development company, its sign unmistakable. Linda parked across the street behind a delivery truck, giving her a partial view of the entrance. Her hands shook as she turned off the engine. What was she doing, tailing a prominent citizen like a private detective? But the necklace, the letters, O and S, Ray's urgent words about the boss, she couldn't ignore them. The Mercedes idled near the entrance. Gregory emerged from the building, his stride purposeful but agitated, checking his watch constantly. Ray got out, and they exchanged keys, Ray handing over the Mercedes keys, taking Daniel's BMW keys. Gregory slid into the Mercedes driver's seat, the younger man still in the passenger side. Both cars pulled out. The BMW turned left, likely back to the estate. The Mercedes turned right, heading south. Linda waited a beat, then followed. They left Homestead's commercial district, passing through sparser residential areas. Soon they were on US 1, heading toward Florida City. Linda's confusion grew. Where were they going? Then the Mercedes took a familiar turn off Everglades National Park, the same route she'd driven that morning. Her chest tightened. Why would Gregory bring this man here? She let visitor vehicles get between them as they entered the park. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the sawgrass. Tourist traffic was lighter, but still provided cover. Gregory's car pulled into the Ernest F. Coe Visitor Center parking lot. Linda parked behind a large RV, watching as Gregory and the man headed toward a trail. She waited a full minute before following, grabbing a park brochure to pose as a tourist. The main trail was busy enough to keep her inconspicuous. For the first half hour, they followed the standard path, Linda pretending to photograph birds and vegetation whenever they glanced. Back, the landscape shifted from wetlands to rockier terrain, a sign indicating the Long Pine Key region. Limestone ground became prominent, scattered pines replacing sawgrass. From certain vantage points, she saw swampy expanses stretching to the horizon, dry ridges rising like islands from the watery prairie dot. As tourists thinned, Linda's unease grew. The deeper they went, the more isolated it became. Then Gregory and his companion veered onto an unmarked path. Her heart raced. Following now meant leaving the safety of public spaces. But she'd come too far. She waited until they were nearly out of sight, then followed. The unofficial trail was rough, demanding careful steps over limestone and through dense vegetation. Sweat dripped down her back in the humid air. Mosquitoes buzzed around her face. After 20 minutes of grueling hiking, she heard voices ahead. Creeping forward, she hid behind sawgrass and limestone boulders. Through the vegetation, she saw them in a small clearing on a dry ridge, alone in the wilderness. Point to the exact spot, Gregory's voice carried clearly. I need to know precisely where you buried the bitch's body. If the police get close, I need to be prepared. Linda's blood ran cold. She pressed herself lower, barely breathing. The younger man, Gregory called him Otis, walked to a brush-heavy spot. Here, I buried Melissa right here, 6 feet down, just like you said. The limestone was tough, but we got through it with the tools you gave us. The casual mention of her daughter's name made Linda bite her lip to stifle a cry. Her baby was here, in this godforsaken wilderness. Good. Leave it undisturbed. Gregory surveyed the area, calculating. No one would stumble across this spot accidentally. You'd have to know exactly where to look. What about me? Otis's voice turned pleading. You said you'd help me. The police found the car. That lingerie gift. You were stupid to use your real name on that card, Gregory snapped. I told you to woo the girl, make Brandon jealous enough to leave her, not send her lingerie with a signed card he'd keep. You said to make it convincing, and it was your idea. Enough. Gregory raised a hand. I have an offer. 2 choices. 1. Disappear. Leave Florida tonight. Go to another state. Never contact anyone here again. But I won't give you a cent. Otis started to protest, but Gregory continued. 2. Go to the police. Confess you murdered the newlyweds. Say you were Melissa's ex-boyfriend, crazy with jealousy. You killed them, buried their bodies, sank the car in the Everglades. Take full responsibility. Why would I? Because I'll pay you $300,000 to do it. Money in an offshore account your family can access while you're in prison. You'll give everyone closure. Stop the investigation. Never mention my name or my company's, and you'll be rich. My father won't agree to this, Otis said weakly. You're not a child anymore. Make your own decision. As for prison time, I have connections. You won't serve as long as you think. Linda watched in horror as Otis nodded slowly. Okay, I'll do it for the money. Smart choice. Now let's go. It's getting late. They turned back toward the trail. Linda's mind raced. She needed to call the police, but not until they were far enough away. She pressed deeper into the vegetation as their footsteps passed, then faded. When she was certain they were gone, she pulled out her cell phone with trembling hands. The signal was weak, 2 bars, but it would have to do. She dialed Detective Prom's number, praying it would connect. Detective, it's Linda Carroll, she said quickly, fearing the call would drop. I'm at Everglades National Park, Long Pine Key area. I followed Gregory Whitmore here. He's with a man named Otis. I heard everything. Otis buried Melissa's body here. Gregory's paying him to take the blame for both murders. Mrs. Carroll, what you've done is extremely dangerous. Prom's voice crackled through static. Give me your exact location. She described the trail, the turnoff, the landmarks. They're heading back to the parking lot now. Gregory's trying to cover everything up. We're mobilizing units now. Stay where you are. Stay hidden. We'll be there as fast as possible. The line went dead. Linda stared at the phone. Then at the spot Otis had indicated. Her daughter was there, had been for 12 years, hidden in this vast wilderness. Tears streamed down her face as she began carefully retracing her steps to the main trail. She had to avoid Gregory and Otis. Had to trust Prom would arrive in time. But at least now she knew. The truth, horrific as it was finally emerging. Linda moved cautiously through the rough terrain, her legs shaking from exertion and shock. The late afternoon sun slanted through the pines, casting treacherous shadows. She glanced back every few steps, terrified of encountering Gregory or Otis. The hike back felt endless, her mind reeling with Gregory's cold discussion of Melissa's burial, his plan to frame Otis while keeping himself clean. Her daughter had been here all along, so close yet hidden. The thought made her stomach churn. Reaching the main trail, she nearly sobbed with relief. The parking lot was a different scene from when she'd left. Police cruisers filled the space, their lights flashing chaotically. Rangers had cordoned off areas directing tourists away. At the center, Otis sat on the curb in handcuffs, an officer standing guard. Gregory stood near his Mercedes, gesturing wildly as he argued with Detective Prom and 2 other officers, his face flushed, his composure cracking. Linda hurried toward them. Prom moved to intercept, but she pushed past. He's lying to you, she called, pointing at Gregory. Whatever he's telling you is a lie. Gregory's eyes snapped to her, fury replacing indignation. This woman's been stalking me. She followed me here from my home. I demand you arrest her for harassment. I heard everything, Linda continued, addressing Prom. At the Whitmore house, I saw Ray Dellon with this man. She pointed to Otis. And Ray took a necklace from him, said the boss didn't want him wearing it. The necklace had the letters O and S. She's delusional. Gregory sputtered, grief-stricken and making up stories. Then I followed them here, Linda pressed on. I heard Gregory tell Otis to show him where he buried my daughter. I heard him offer Otis $300,000 to take the blame for both murders while keeping his name out of it. Prom's expression grew grave. He turned to Gregory. Mr. Whitmore, these are serious allegations. Allegations from a woman who's harassed my family for 12 years, Gregory shot back. I came here to mourn my son in private. This man, he gestured at Otis, is a bodyguard my driver recommended. I don't even know his last name. He called him Otis, Linda insisted, the same name on that lingerie card. And Otis showed him where Melissa's is buried in the Long Pine Key area, off the trail. Prom studied them, then turned to Otis. Sir, what's your name? Otis looked between Gregory and the police, sweat beading on his forehead. I want a lawyer. That's your right, Prom said. He nodded to his partner, Detective Morgan. Take Mr. Whitmore and Mrs. Carroll to separate areas. No one leaves until we sort this out. He approached Otis. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to show us what Mrs. Carroll claims you showed Mr. Whitmore. If she's lying, she'd be charged with filing a false report. If she's telling the truth. He let the implication hang. 2 officers escorted Otis to a police vehicle while others gathered shovels, evidence bags, and cameras. Linda was led to a bench near the visitor center, an officer nearby. Gregory was taken to another area, protesting about his rights and lawyers. The wait was excruciating. The sun sank, painting the sky orange and purple. After 30 minutes, more vehicles arrived. Linda's heart leapt as Daniel's BMW pulled up, Eleanor in the passenger seat. They hurried over, confusion on their faces. Linda, what's happening? Daniel asked. We got a call that Dad was here. Mom. They said Dad's been detained, Eleanor said, looking between Linda and the officer. What's going on? Linda took a shaky breath and told them everything, following Ray and the young man. The overheard conversation, Gregory's plan to pay Otis. Their faces shifted from confusion to disbelief to horror. That's insane, Eleanor whispered. Sinking onto the bench, Gregory would never. He couldn't have. Daniel's expression was harder to read, his jaw clenched as he stared at his father. Actually, Mom, it makes a terrible kind of sense. Dad never wanted Brandon to marry Melissa. He was furious when they eloped. After they disappeared, he threw himself into work, barely mentioned Brandon unless someone else brought him up. That's how he grieves, Eleanor said. Or how he hides guilt, Daniel replied quietly. They fell into tense silence. The wait stretched 40 minutes, 50, an hour. Linda prayed, something she hadn't done in years. Please let them find her. Please let this be over. Prom's radio crackled. He listened, his face grave, then approached. The field team has discovered human remains at the location indicated. They're securing the scene and will transport the evidence for forensic analysis. Eleanor let out a strangled sob. Linda felt the world tilt, Daniel's hand on her, shoulders steadying her. Across the lot, Gregory had heard the news. He bolted, trying to push past his guard, but Daniel intercepted him. Dad, don't be stupid, he said, blocking his path. You have a lot to explain. You know there's no running from this. Get out of my way, son. You don't understand. I understand more than you think, Daniel said, his voice cold. Officers restrained Gregory. As they searched him, a key ring fell to the asphalt with a clink. Linda recognized it, the same keys from earlier, one labeled OIS in black marker. Pram picked it up. Mr. Whitmore, care to explain why you have a key labeled with the name of someone you claim not to know? Gregory's lips pressed into a thin line. Is this related to your son's remains? Prom pressed. Did you mark it with Otis's name to shift blame if it was ever found? Silence. Eleanor stood, her grief turning to fury. You've been lying to us all these years, Gregory. Where is our son? She snatched the key from Prom, examining it. Her face paled. This looks like a key to the memorial house. The columbarium where we keep family members' ashes. Prom's partner radioed the field team, getting clearance to investigate. Mrs. Whitmore, Mr. Whitmore, he addressed Eleanor and Daniel. We'll need you to show us this location. Daniel nodded, of course. He turned to Linda. I'll update you as soon as I know anything. Thank you, Linda whispered. Eleanor and Daniel left with a police escort. The field team returned from the woods with evidence bags. Prom approached Linda. Mrs. Carroll, we'll need you at the station to give a formal statement. We also need to process Mr. Whitmore and the other suspect through booking. As officers read Gregory and Otis their rights, Otis called out, You still owe me that money. We had a deal. Gregory's face twisted with rage. Not a single cent. You couldn't even follow simple instructions. They were separated and placed in patrol cars. Linda stood, fishing out her keys. I don't think I can drive, she admitted to Prom. That's understandable. He gestured to another officer. Officer Martinez will drive your vehicle to the station. You can ride with me. Linda handed over her keys and climbed into Prom's car. As they left the park, she stared back at the wilderness that had hidden her daughter for 12 years. The truth was emerging from the swamp, dark and terrible, but it was the truth. The Homestead police station buzzed with controlled chaos. Through the glass doors, Linda saw officers moving purposefully, phones ringing, the machinery of a major case in motion. Prom escorted her inside, and she spotted Ray Dellon in the booking area, his earlier warmth replaced by hollow-eyed defeat. We picked him up 20 minutes ago, Prom explained. Otis gave us enough during the ride to secure an arrest warrant. Linda watched Gregory and Otis being processed photographs. Fingerprints, belongings cataloged. Gregory maintained his imperious bearing, demanding his lawyer, threatening lawsuits. Otis seemed to shrink, the reality sinking in. Prom guided Linda to a small interview room, its fluorescent lights harsh after the fading daylight. He offered coffee, which she declined, and water, which she accepted. First, I'm so sorry, Prom began, his face showing genuine sympathy. No parent should endure what you have. 12 years of not knowing, and now this. Tears came, hot and sudden. In the park's chaos, she'd held them back. But here, faced with kindness, her composure crumbled. At least now I know. She managed. All these years, I wondered if she was suffering, trapped, calling for me, or if she'd chosen Brandon's world over mine. At least now I know she's not in pain. She hasn't been tortured or held captive. Her voice broke. Prom pushed a tissue box across the table. I understand you want to know what happened. I need your formal statement first, then I'll share what Otis told us. Linda nodded, composing herself. She recounted the morning's call, the car's discovery, the confrontation with Gregory, finding Brandon's belongings, the lingerie. From Otis, her voice steadied as she described following Ray and the young man, overhearing their conversation, trailing Gregory to the Everglades. Prom took careful notes, asking for clarifications. When she finished, he leaned back. Otis Dunham, that's his full name, was forthcoming once he realized Gregory wouldn't protect him. He admitted Gregory hired him in early 1985 to pursue your daughter, to make Brandon jealous enough to end the relationship. Why? Linda asked, though she suspected the answer. Gregory disapproved of the match. His words per Otis were that he didn't want a poor woman joining the family. Brandon was set to inherit Whitmore Industries. Gregory wanted him married. To someone with education and social standing, an asset to the business, not someone who only graduated high school. Anger flared through Linda's grief. My daughter was worth 10 of their society women. She was kind, loving, devoted. I'm sure she was, Prom said gently. And Brandon thought so too. Otis tried showing up where Melissa worked, sending gifts, creating situations where Brandon would see them together. But their relationship was solid. Nothing worked. So, they eloped, Linda said. Yes. And that's when Gregory's plan turned darker. He paid Otis and his father, Ray, to follow the couple on their honeymoon at a beach cottage in Dania Beach. The plan was to kill Melissa during a staged robbery while Brandon was out. Make it look random. Linda's hands clenched. But Brandon came back. Prom's expression darkened. Otis admitted something else. His father, Ray, had intentions toward Melissa. What was supposed to be a quick killing became worse. Ray assaulted her after she was dead. Brandon returned early from his beach walk and found them. Bile rose in Linda's throat. Her daughter, violated even in death. Oh God. Brandon fought them, tried to call for help. They hadn't meant to kill him. Gregory's son was supposed to survive to mourn his wife. But with Brandon as a witness, they had no choice. They killed him too, and Gregory covered it up. He had resources, private trucks to move the bodies, a boat to dump the car in the Everglades, thinking currents would carry it to sea. The cottage was professionally cleaned within hours, new bedding, matching the old, all traces removed. When the owner checked after they failed to check out, it looked like they'd left. No security cameras in 1985, Linda said numbly. Exactly. The police investigated, but without bodies or evidence of foul play, with the car missing. They assumed they'd run off or had an accident. Gregory played the grieving father perfectly. He cremated his son and hid the urn under another name. What kind of monster? Linda whispered, the kind who values control and reputation above all else. But Otis and Ray threatened to go to the police if Gregory turned on them. It was all or nothing. A knock interrupted. An officer leaned in. Detective, the team's back from the memorial house with the Whitmore family. Thank you. Prom turned to Linda. They found Brandon's remains in an urn registered under Otis Dunham's name, hidden in a separate section from the Whitmore family area. I need to interview Daniel and Eleanor now. Would you mind waiting? There may be forensic updates, and I'm sure the family will want to speak with you. Linda nodded. She was led to a small waiting room, plastic chairs, old magazines, a water cooler. Through the doorway, she glimpsed Eleanor and Daniel. Eleanor's composure had shattered. She looked decades older. Daniel supported her, his face drawn. They saw Linda and approached. I'm so sorry, Eleanor said, grasping Linda's hands. For everything Gregory did. To Melissa, to Brandon, to you. This happened to all of us, Linda said, squeezing back. It's not your fault, you're victims too. If I'd known. Eleanor's voice broke. Mom, don't. Daniel said softly. No one could have imagined Dad capable of this. Prom appeared. Mr. Whitmore, I need to speak with you first. Daniel nodded, squeezing his mother's shoulder. I'll update you both after, he promised, following. Pram. An officer approached. Ladies, I need to separate you into different waiting areas, standard procedure during interviews. Eleanor was led one way, Linda another, to a smaller room with 4 chairs and a table of outdated magazines. Alone, the weight of the day crashed over her. She sank into a chair, tears flowing freely. 12 years of wondering, false hopes. Dead ends, friends urging her to move on. 12 years defending Melissa against Gregory's accusations. 12 years of lonely birthdays, empty Christmases, Mother's Days without a call. 12 years of doubt, the insidious whisper that maybe Melissa had chosen Brandon's glamorous world, ashamed of their modest life. Now she knew. Melissa hadn't abandoned her. Her daughter had been stolen, murdered for loving above her station, for daring to marry into a family that deemed her unworthy. She died at 24, likely terrified, perhaps calling for her mother. But she died loved. Brandon had defied his father, chosen her over wealth, fought her killers to protect her honor, even in death. That was real love, not the shallow society marriage Gregory wanted. Linda wiped her eyes with a tissue. The grief would never fully leave, but there was relief too, a lifting of the terrible weight of not knowing. She could bury her daughter. properly now, visit a grave, bring flowers, talk to her, finally mourn. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of something we should never forget, please like this story, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and follow our journey for more stories that honor truth, dignity, and the power of standing tall even when the world looks away. Because when we remember together, we rise together. And that, at any age, is how change begins.